you see that in a way, the selfing is a way to organize what's going on here, so that obviously they've already proven the brain takes in tons of data but actually selects very few of it, and it uses that data to produce a world, yeah, to make something that its organization principle, the mental state called selfing, so that it can understand what's going on here. But there's a loss in a way. If you understand what's going on here and you believe everything is real and solid and substantial, you know, everything that's material is given value, and let's say space is like etheric, wishy-washy, fairy-ish, you know, but rock solid, you know, built strong. It's always about this place as real as what possibly can be, yeah? With that understanding, hey, you know, maybe Die Hard 8 will seem like a fucking great Friday night, you know? You know what I mean? I mean, maybe if I can just make it through the week and I get enough money, I can maybe go to a movie, get charged like $15 for 3D glasses, and something I swore 10 years ago put up with, which is advertisements and commercials at the movie theater, where before when I was young I swore I'd never pay more than $10 ever for a movie, and I love that they never have. And now you're watching First Look, which is about shows that never even make it. You know, it's like First Look, Last Look. You're just like pulverized because they know they'll take it. We just keep taking more and more and more and more. Then they shrink the bottles from 12 ounces to 11 ounces, and you start thinking you're like in an HO scale world. You go, these look smaller. What? Didn't I get more ounces when I used to buy these sodas? Or the box gets big, but it's super, you open it up and it's like 1/4. They could have moved a family in there. There's like 1/4 of cereal and then just space, but oh, look at this box. I got a big box of cereal, but there isn't a lot of cereal, but there's a big box. So I look like I've arrived, but what the hell is that? No, that's the whole problem with the idea of doing and having yourself. We're trying to produce outside of ourselves, which is inherently inside. Yeah? So that state of being isn't portrayed by a woman standing next to a Mustang convertible. It's not. Yeah? That's sort of like they give us these substitutes, and oh, if I had that, you know, it would be so, you know, add on, so wonderful. And so we believe that if we get enough outside, if we do and have enough, it will produce a sense of being. And the kicker is we believe it will stabilize, which it never will, because all that the doing and having can produce is another mental state. It can't produce what's unproducible. It doesn't mean what's unproducible is not here. It's all here. That's why we miss it. It's completely here, but it's not produced. We can't remember it because it was never not here. That's why we can seem to forget it, because we're not recognizing it, because it's like if I was born and someone put a hand on my shoulder from the day I was born and it wasn't taken off for like 40-something years, I would have tons of stories about why this shoulder droops, you know what I mean? Why, you know, I lean this way when I'm driving, and oh, it's harder, I don't have the movement I have with this one. And I have all these stories, but they're not even close to what's happening. You'd only know it if it lifted. When the hand lifted, you would go, Jesus Christ, I had a 5-pound hand on my right shoulder my whole life. That's what was going on. You would know the quote-unquote problem from the solution. You'd never know it from the problem. And especially when, in a sense, and it's not a problem, we're just using that terminology to sort of point to its ability to produce an irritability, restlessness, and discontent, you know, or an agitation, a constant agitation, or a chronic agitation. Well, the whole thing is, if the act of being identified is the problem, then you'll never know it because you take yourself to be the hand. Yeah? It's like the Pooper Scooper story that I always use, where the guy I won't go in there, but I see all these people are laughing, because they've heard the story before. But basically, the real problem is he thinks he has an answer to the problem, yeah, where he can pick the shit up really fast. And he has a lot of people asking his advice and, subscribing to his website and buying his pooper scoopers. And he's got outfits like jumpsuits you can wear while you're doing it and just rip them off at the cocktail party. Wow, yes. With like Bill Graham on here or something, or Jimmy Graham. And so when someone comes and says, hey, I think I have a solution, what's the problem? The mental state has adapted to use that seeming problem and mine an identification out of it, an image out of it. And that's like a gold mine to it. And part of it being a gold mine to it, you may be bitching about it for the rest of your life, but underneath the bitching, that's what it wants, yeah? So when it hears the solution, hey, just find the dog, it doesn't want it its whole career. It isn't like it rushes like you would if something finally presented a radical, stabilized sense of relief. You would think you would rush towards it, but there's a mental pause because you're identified as the pooper scooper master. You know what I mean? You're a circuit speaker. You got books out, and you have another book coming out. And you got a tour to do. There would be like a pause to rush into the solution because the act of being identified is the problem. Yeah? It's not the shit. It's the identification as the one who has the shit, or the one who has mastered the shit, or the one who's under the shit. That's the identification itself. And when that's seemingly in place, and it's never in place, it just appears to be in place. Yeah? There's no place for it to rest or become stabilized, but it appears to be in place. So it's constantly broadcasting this mental image, not where you think. It's using what's already been broadcasting to broadcast that it's you that it's happening to. Yeah? So when the mental state remembers you, you're remembered as a body. When a mental state is worried about you, it's worrying about you as a body. Yeah? When it pictures you in the future or the past, it pictures you as a body. So it's very easy to see that if you didn't have a sense of what's behind or prior to all that, it would be very easy to fall into the habit of taking yourself to be Paul, this action figure. Yeah? And it may even lead you to having so much disappointment in attempts to feel a little bit better, you may even go to the last house on the block, and in this case, it's called a temple or an ashram, and you may enter the spiritual life, but the whole format's still in place. If you start doing spiritual practices, there'll be the doer of spiritual practices. That's how it will be taken. The spiritual practices won't override that sense of doership. They will just adapt to the sense of doership, and now you'll be a spiritual person like before you were a drug addict person. Yeah? It would be just another uniform. You would tell in the beginning it looks different, and maybe you feel a little different, but the basic underlying conditions in place, you're bonded to this idea of being a someone. And that someone comprises all of these things that have been claimed by the mental state. And they are doership, thinkership, feelership, seership, hearership, all those things. All those things are being used to keep applying the glue so that the big M mind takes itself to be what the mental state represents. Yeah? So the big M mind will forget itself by becoming identified as a body. So it's in the act of constantly remembering myself as a body that I forget what I am. Yeah? I can't remember what I am because when I try to remember what I am, I'm trying to remember it as what I'm not. So that gets defeated. I can't look for what I am because what's looking is what you're looking for. I can't study what I am because it's indescribable. It doesn't have any quantities. I can't capture what I am. Yeah? I can't have what I am. So what do I get left with? An idea of what I am. So if I approach the truth from the identification as Paul. It's like, you ever see that movie, The Blob, the old movie? It was the most hilarious thing because it only moved like an inch an hour. So people say, oh, here it comes. Let's have a picnic, hang out. Oh, it's Wednesday. It's getting closer. The blob is never going to reach its quarry because it's moving so slow. But in the selfing, whatever it comes in contact with, through actions and experiences and faculties and perceptions, it claims to be the one that's doing it, the one that's being done to. It's constantly claiming, just like the thinking. It's constantly in the act of claiming or assuming that it's what's being thought about or the thinker. Yeah, that's what it does.